Welcome back, everybody, to another wild and exciting episode of the R&R Sports Podcast. I am your host, Robert Joins, along with my co-host, Randy Watkins. Randy, say hello to the nice people.
Hello to the nice people.
And the not-so-nice people as well.
And the not-so-nice people.
This is a great podcast where Randy and I come together and talk about sports and whatever the hell is on our minds. So I say we don't waste any time and hop right into it.
Yeah, let's talk about LeVar Ball. He over the past week said that he would pull Lonzo if the Lakers did not sign his other two brothers.
Oh man, the brass hojos on that guy.
Yeah, he's the other two sons playing in Lithuania right now. He pulled what's his name? All right, middle son.
Screw up from UCLA who got in trouble in China.
LiAngelo pulled him out of UCLA, and his 16-year-old son LaMelo pulled him out of school completely to have them play ball for a few shekels in Lithuania.
Yeah. What's his face? The youngest one might actually have some talent, but the middle child, nah, man. He's not going to have an NBA career. The other thing I really want to talk about, man, is that what's the name of the kid that's actually with the Lakers? They're all L names, man. I can't remember.
Lonzo,
right. Lonzo's the one that's with the Lakers. He may have some scoring potential, but he's only shooting 48% from the line.
He is bad.
That is abysmal. To put that in perspective for y'all at home, Shaquille O'Neal, who a lot of people think of as the worst free throw shooter of all time, he's not, actually. He finished his career with 52.7%. That means a guard, Lonzo Ball is a guard, is shooting 48%. That's 4.7% less than Shaq did in his entire career.
It just blows my mind how a point guard at that in the NBA can be shooting 48% from the line.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting topic. If there's anything else that you want to talk about, the Ball brothers and their father, have at it, because I can go on about free throw shooting for days, man.
Oh, I can go ahead.
Right.
Let's talk about some of the best and worst free throw shooters of all time.
So I mentioned Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaq gets a bad rap. 52.7% is not great, but it is most certainly not the worst. And drum roll, please. The worst free throw shooter of all time in the NBA is Ben Wallace of the Detroit Pistons. Yes, that defensive mastermind, Ben Wallace. His free throw percentage was 41.4%.
Didn't he also have the worst release ever? I remember that about Ben
Wallace. Ugly.
It was like very ugly.
It was like he was throwing it at the backboard. But right behind him in percentage, is Wilt Chamberlain with a career free throw percentage of 51.1%.
Hey, he's going to score 100 points a game. You can't expect him to come from the free throw line.
Well, it's not even fair. If he holds his arm out, it's already halfway to the goal. Come on, man. And yes, of course, third worst all time, our man, Shaq Attack, Shaquille O'Neal is third worst all time. But right behind him at fourth, DeAndre Jordan, and then basically everything else after that. Dwight Howard's not very good. His is 57.2. But so we've had the worst. Do you have any idea? I know we've already kind of touched on this. Do you have any idea who's the best free throw shooter in the NBA all time?
Of all time?
Of all time.
I would say it's got to be a guard.
Yeah.
Steve. Nah, not Steve Kerr. I wouldn't put him up there. I got nothing coming to mind right now.
All right. It is. It's our the great white our great white man from the Great White North, as it were, Steve Nash.
Oh, Nash. Yeah, that makes sense.
His free throw percentage is over 90%. He made over 90% of all the free throws he ever took.
I remember that about him being to the line. It was almost guaranteed that you put that guy on the line, he was going to hit a shot.
Well, and let's put something in perspective. You've got Ben Wallace at number one, the worst. His teammate, Chauncey Billups, is ranked sixth as the best.
Wow. I never would have thought he would be in the top 10.
Yeah, Ray Allen is right there at 7, and my boy J.J. Redick from Duke University. He's number 8 on the list at 89%.
JJ's a great shooter. I remember that, when he was at Duke. I mean, he was solid on the free throw line.
Well, that's why that's one of the reasons why people hated him. He had the longest free throw streak in NCAA for a while. It was insane. It was like 60 or 70 made in a row. Hold on, I'm going to look up that. JJ Redick.
I'm looking at the top 10, and most of these guys are guards. Page is up there. Stojakovic, Steph Curry is in at number 3, at just over 90%. Rick Barry was a forward, wasn't he? Wasn't he a power forward?
Mm-hmm.
No, he was a small forward. Okay, so not many people in the top 10 that are anything but a guard. Oh, my man, Larry Bird at 12.
Oh my God. It's interesting. So J.J. Redick, it wasn't the NCAA. He has set a record for the most consecutive free throws made in the ACC with 54. But think about all the great talent that's come out of the ACC in the years too.
Oh yeah, a lot of great talent. But still, I mean, that streak was amazing. How many did you say? 54?
Yeah, 54 straight.
54 straight. Which, if you watch ACC football every year, usually somebody between 85 and 89 leads the conference. Usually it's on the higher end, but, he's over 90% all time. And I think this year he's even higher than that, isn't he?
Something like that. Yeah, his active percentage this year was like 91 or 92. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just consistent. The guys who make free throws like that, that's what they do for an hour at practice. That's just what they do. They go shoot free throws. And that's what you want out of your guards, man, because they're the ones who are going to be driving down the lane at the end of the game, and you've got to make those shots. They're gimmies,
Yeah, if you got the contact, you've got to hit those shots. Roy Williams preaches about the importance, as I'm sure all NCAA coaches preach about the importance of hitting your shots, when it counts, and especially with NCAA tournament time, just around the corner after the conference championships, everyone's going to be stressing the importance of, okay, these games are very close. They're usually within 3 points. So you've got to hit your free throws when it counts. There's nothing worse than bailing on your team with your free throw percentage.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, now you've got some big news, man, or at least big news to you. You want to share that with the kiddos at home?
Well, I want to touch more on the Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball escapade that they are.
Have at it.
I think it was, well, we saw early in the week that he came out and said that. And I think he kind of pissed off Magic. Magic's the president out there right now running the team.
No.
I think he really woke up the beast with his comments of, you're going to sign him, or, after his rookie deal's over, he's gone. I've been reading a lot into it. Now, you've touched upon LaMelo had more talent, it seemed like. I watched some tape on him. He's 16 years old. He can make some plays just like Lonzo, but at the end of the day, Lonzo is not a game changer. I think the only reason we're talking about him is because of LeVar's big mouth. I think if LeVar was not involved in his big baller brand and whatever, that he created, this $495 shoe, which is god awful, ridiculous price for a basketball shoe. I think if he were not have created this hysterical enterprise around these three boys, nobody would be even talking about him. And, like I said, I was watching some tape on LaMelo, and he shoots all the time. Every time the kid gets the ball, he shoots. So, Lonzo, and I was reading up on his stats, he's getting some assists out there. Right now he's hurt, right? But he's getting some assists. and but he's only a 10 points a player game. I mean, he's not going to get you any more than 10 points. You know, a point guard running the team in the NBA, you've got to be able to get more than 10 points to be relevant.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Now, I will say, Lonzo's shoes may be ridiculous, but click that link I just sent you there. Right there. It may be bad, but there's no way it's as bad as Adidas slavery shoes.
As whose shoes?
You got to click on the link, bro. It says Hollywood Reporter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, those are ugly.
Yeah.
Whose shoes are those?
Yeah.
Whose shoes are those? And why do they have shackles on them?
Jeremy Scott's shackle sneaker. They were supposed to be handcuffs. But that is sure as heck not what it looks like, buddy.
No. I'm going to say, when were those produced?
I don't know, like 5 years ago or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see here. How can you imagine how quickly those suckers were ripped off the shelves? Yeah, 2012. It was 2012, so 6 years ago.
You guys have to Google these shoes and just see them for yourselves. They're bright orange and purple and black. It looks like vomit on a shoe.
Have shackles. So just remember, Lonzo's shoes may be ridiculous, but at least they're not wildly offensive to African Americans.
You know, Lonzo turned down deals worth $10, $15 million from Nike, Under Armour. All the big shoe brands were coming after him, being a first-round pick.
Yep.
You know, and you look in retrospect in that, you know, he obviously has pledged allegiance to his father. And what they're trying to do with this big baller brand, they're actually out recruiting guys for some like basketball talent show, like a Globetrotters event. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There's a Carolina recruit that's in high school right now. They actually approached him over the past couple of weeks to try and go be part of this like traveling road show. It's like, what are they? I don't understand what he's trying to get at.
It's like the father read a book on entrepreneurship but skimmed it, and that's just good enough.
How to, as soon as your son has some talent, how to wash it all away as quickly as possible with the worst deals that you can make. Yeah. You know, he's a little bit more about, I put some articles in there about, you know, just kind of their family history. You know, they just recently bought a $5 million house in Chino Hills.
Jeez. And
they've got it registered, so to speak, or you know, not registered, but the deed is actually written out to an LLC corporation. And the LLC corporation has Lonzo's Balls name all over it.
Of course. But that's actually not unusual. More often than not, when you're at that level of celebrity, you don't purchase something in your own name. You purchase it through an LLC or some S corp of some kind for tax purposes.
Right. Well, I just thought it was weird.
Like the marketability of those three boys, I hate to say it, their Q factor is way low. They are some rough-looking guys.
Well, and they don't have any personality. Obviously, their dad's the big mouth of the group, and they're just like, whatever, just want to play basketball. You know, they're not charismatic. They're not dynamic leaders. They're not even dynamic players.
They're not Dwayne Wade with that $1 million smile, man.
No, and they'll be irrelevant probably within 3 years because, you know, Lonzo, here's the other thing. We were talking about it last week. If LeBron comes and plays in L.A.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Lonzo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not going to be part of a circus. He's won a championship.
Speaking of which, we don't really have this on the show notes here, but I've got to talk about it. There are, you know, it didn't happen before the trade deadline, but I don't think anybody suspected it. But there is a huge push now. People, it's like a you can't just have chocolate. You got to have chocolate syrup and chocolate sprinkles and all sorts of cherries and whipped cream and stuff on top too. People are really, really pushing for LeBron James to go play for the Golden State Warriors.
I don't know how that would just be fair. I mean, you've got KD, Steph Curry, and him. I mean, that's just...
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the super team of all super teams.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about it, too, is like Golden State's already stacked unfairly. Now, I will say Golden State's faltered here before the break, the All-Star break, and Houston has filled that gap. Houston's playing great. They had like 10 or 11 straight wins before the break. But I will say Cleveland, with their trades, who we barely touched on in our last episode, have going on one heck of a win streak. They are playing lights out basketball.
Yeah, a couple of players will make a big difference. They put George Hill in immediately, and he was making a difference.
You know what I think it really boils down to is that like LeBron's finally got it. Like it really comes down to how excited he is. If he's not in it, it's not happening. And so like to have these guys on the court that he's excited to be playing with, he's playing better. You look at his stats. His stats are much better. His assists are up. His points are up. Command of the court is up.
Play into the talent around you. It's been happening since the dawn of time. Where you're a great athlete on a crappy team, your play is not going to be great.
So, but I think we can all agree, though, if Cleveland is not able to win a championship this year, I think the king is gone. Why? Why would you hang around when they're making it clear that they are not interested?
I think so too, and they're barely over a few games over 500, but they're still double digit back from
Boston.
The lead from Boston.
I think they're 8 games behind now or something like that because Boston's
okay.
But anyways, so now you got another story that you got to talk about here.
Absolutely.
Put the balls away. I'm tired of talking about those losers.
Goodbye. Yes. So I was going to lunch on Friday. And I was in Chapel Hill, and I work in Chapel Hill, so we were going down to Jersey Mike's. I'm pulling through the parking lot, and I see an athlete that I know. So I pull my truck over, and I park as quickly as I can. I go behind. I see it's him, and it looks like to be his girlfriend. And I go in behind him, and I'm thinking I know who it is. I'm about 95% certain. But, you kind of have that seed of doubt in your mind. The guy wasn't really much bigger than I was. He's listed a lot taller than I thought he was. But he's not really that tall. It was Joel Berry. And I was just blown away. They apparently go to Jersey Mike's all the time. It is near campus. It's not far. They ordered
in fairness, he is from Florida, and Florida is basically South Jersey.
Yeah. So they're ordering their sandwiches and they're going up to pay, and I see his girlfriend, is pulling out her credit card to pay. And I'm like, you know what? I said, I just kind of reached around the corner. I said, Joel, I'll take care of your lunches, guys. I appreciate, all that you do, especially after the last game against NC State. Joel put the team on his back. But it got me to
You're going to get him in trouble with the NCAA.
It got me thinking, it wasn't about, when we got to talk a few minutes, such a humble and great kid, really just a leader of that offense. But it got me to thinking, these guys are out and, should they even be paying for their lunch? I mean, he's going back to practice, before their game against Louisville. And I was just like, I did it just solely on the principle that man should not be buying his own lunch. Just my 2 cents. But what do you think? Do you think college athletes should be paid?
Man, that's a whole episode. I like where you're going.
And I want to do a whole episode on it because it's something that I'm passionate about, that I think these kids should be paid. The revenues for these schools and the NCAA is ungodly.
I will give you the long and short. I will give you the cliff notes on why that doesn't work, and we can spend a whole episode debating it. But the reason why it doesn't work is that small schools will no longer be able to compete, period. They won't. And you've listed here in the show notes exactly why. Texas has a revenue of $182 million in 2017. Alabama, $174 million. Ohio State, $134 million. Do you have any idea what UNCG pulled in last year?
I don't.
Probably nothing.
No,
So-
they call me all the time, so they probably pull in something from somebody that's paying them.
Well, they're not getting money from me. Um, but anyways, so but great wins that like UNCG has this year over teams like NC State, another school that has revenue, especially that ACC revenue. You know, the ACC network pays out to those schools. It will, in a way, people say, "Oh, this is great. It's high performance college sports. It's incentive to actually go to college." The only problem is that it will kill every other school's academic program because they won't be able to compete. It will literally be who can pay you the most. And then even if there's a deal where it's like, well, Alabama's capped, they can't offer more. Well, you know as well as I do that they'll just continue to do what they're doing now, and that's offering them stuff under the table anyways.
I just think that, I mean, it doesn't have to. I'm not talking about thousands of dollars to each player and stuff like that. But, you know, these guys, I mean, I've listened to stories how when they've gone out, you know, post-game celebration, and they go out to the local pizza joint, that, you know, some of these guys are from the inner cities and very depressed areas. They can't even afford to buy a slice of pizza. That just breaks my heart because these guys are pulling in millions of dollars on their likeness and on their talent every single year.
Well, I'll tell you what I would say about any freshman at any UNC system school. What do we have for all freshmen in North Carolina at any UNC system school?
I don't know what you're getting
An
at.
unlimited meal plan. Not
The
only
meal
that,
plan. Okay.
Not only that, but included in that unlimited meal plan is flex dollars that you can spend at restaurants near the college campus. Pretty much every major school has a version of this. So this argument of like, they're starving, they don't have options. I'm with you. Like, I'm all for if the team wants to provide a facility where the players can go get smoothies and pizza and if they want to feed their team. But this giving them money to like go eat wherever they want, I don't know. I didn't have that ability in college.
I know. And I'm not saying like it's extra beer money. You know, I'm saying like, you know, there's other expenses, you know, as well as I do as a college student. There are plenty of other expenses besides what goes into a scholarship or your tuition. You know, that, you know, these guys have cars to maintain, you know, and that other stuff too. I mean, it was just something I was thinking about.
If we get to the point where we are paying athletes, if that's what we're going to do, it becomes a very slippery slope. When we start paying athletes, we just need to be prepared to admit that we do not care about academics, that it's not about academics. There's no one else who gets paid to go to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But, you know, me going to UNCG or wherever does not make the school money. These guys are generating revenue. And that was my point, is that they're generating millions of dollars. You know, why is there something not out there for them?
I'll tell you something.
Okay.
What if you create an incentive that encourages players to actually stay in school for 4 years? Yes, you can go to college. Yes, we'll give you a minor something for your first year. We'll give you a little bit bump up in something in the second year. But if you're there for all 4 years, consider it a signing bonus if you actually make it to the dance.
I mean, yeah, I'm all for that. I believe
what I'm saying is,
do.
But it can't just be a base pay. If it's going to be anything, it's got to be an incentive, or it has to be something that is like, they don't worry about transportation because all their transportation's basically covered. You know what I mean? Which most athletes, it already is. So, I mean, there's already a tremendous disparity in facilities in the top schools. Basically, if you want to win a national championship, you got to be willing to spend the money for the facilities that your Florida States, your Clemsons, your Alabamas, and now Texas A&M are willing to spend to have those amazing facilities, because that's where the best players want to go.
Oh yeah, it's about wooing talent for sure. I mean,
Nick Saban has 3 times the coaching staff of like NC State. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's all about your facilities, what you can offer or not. I think that's part of what's going on with these shady side deals that came out. This was also, it's not in the show notes here, but the report that come out that a lot of the teams that are going to be in the brackets this year in the team of 64s, there's a lot of allegations and indictments that are going to come out towards Hall of Fame coaches and those teams. Just mind blowing thinking about the top 25, that there are going to be some big name schools and big name coaches in there that are going to be in big trouble.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not going to be in big trouble. What's the number one moneymaker of the NCAA but the tournament? You want to talk about shooting yourself in the foot? I mean, look at what they did with UNC. UNC wins a championship under all of this investigation. Definitely things going on during times when they won championships. And doesn't matter because it makes the NCAA money. It puts them in a pinch. And now the NCAA opened themselves up to be sued by every other school that had been punished for the same thing. You know what I mean?
I do and I don't. If it didn't matter, then Rick Pitino wouldn't have been fired immediately as soon as that report came out. He's a Hall of Fame basketball coach for sure.
He'd been flagged multiple times. This wasn't his first offense. I'm just saying.
It's true. I totally get
when is
your point.
the last time Louisville won the tournament?
They've done pretty well, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they haven't.
They haven't. Louisville is not the moneymaker for the NCAA. That's why the smaller schools get punished because there's really no drawback or pushback.
The NCAA is definitely crooked. I 100% agree.
That's why within 10 years it won't exist. We'll be going to a super conference system, and it will be devoid of the NCAA. So it's a dinosaur. It's dying. If you can't enforce your rules, what's the point of your rules?
It's a very good point.
Yeah,
I think everything's out of control for the NCAA.
Yeah, it's going to be a rapid spiral. Just they will do anything they can to keep the NCAA tournament going like it is. But anyways, we got to move on. For some people, the Winter Olympics is currently occurring.
For some people, you really despise the Winter Olympics.
No, it's not. It's not an entire despise it. I'm just saying it doesn't have the viewership of the Summer Olympics, and a majority of Americans don't live in snowy areas. That's just. And if you don't believe me, look at how poor the U.S. always does in snow medal count. Who are the countries at the top? Germany. Norway, yep. Sweden.
Yep. The Europeans.
Korea.
The Olympic athletes of Russia, or OAR, as I like to call them.
Those who haven't been caught doping yet, so they're still allowed to perform.
Right. I think everybody Googled because they weren't putting up their Olympic athletes of Russia. They were just putting OAR, and everyone was like, what is this country OAR? I have no clue who this country is, and Googling OAR. And they're like, okay, this is the non-dopers.
Or is such a dumb acronym anyways. But anyways, yeah, so some big news on that, though. Your boy Shaun White with his third gold in the half pipe.
He got his comeback from Sochi after getting injured and got his third gold going into the third round of the half pipe snowboarding finale.
And he
had to have better than a 95.
He landed the trick that injured him so badly. In the was it Sochi that he busted his face up? I thought it was like a different competition.
I think that was in a practice run, but he also fell during Sochi. He didn't finish in the top three. He did very poor. He did not hit the medal stand.
This was when he was training for this year's Winter Olympics when he needed 62 stitches.
Oh, it was for this one. Okay.
It was training for this one. Yeah, he went face first into the pipe and busted his face up something awful. He
hit his back on the half pipe too in Sochi. He just really was just banged up. Did not do well. So it was nice to see the flying tomato fly again. I mean, he killed it. His first run was just unbelievable. The guy just makes it look easy. The second run, he fell, and then like I said, I think it was a Japanese kid that was leading in the third and final run that he had to, he was the last one that had to go. And he just, two back-to-back 1440s and which is 4 revolutions. He absolutely destroyed it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You could just see the emotion in the guy's face and how hard he had trained. I've just always liked Shaun White, thought he's always been a humble guy, and it was nice to see him come back. Did you see the two newest stars from the USA, Chloe Kim and Red Gerard?
Yeah, absolutely.
Chloe Kim made it look easy.
Yeah, 17-year-old basically prodigy.
Both of them. I mean, I was watching the girls for the snowboard and half pipe. They're not getting very high. Chloe Kim's getting 12 to 15 feet in the air above the pipe. I mean, made it look so easy. She didn't even need her third run, and she pulled out a 98.
Yeah, she basically was already in first, had it cemented, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to go, even crazier. But I'll tell you what, both of them are just tiny. I mean, Red Gerard, he's like 5'5", and he's just teeny, teeny, tiny.
Very, very small. I think I read that he lost his jacket at the Olympics. He overslept. Like, he just had a really bad day, and he just goes out and wins the gold.
Yeah, but his was slope style, so his was more like the X Games tricks and that kind of thing.
Right.
Which, I'll be honest, I like. I think that's wildly entertaining.
I do like slope style because they kind of start out up at the top, working the different obstacles up at the top, and then they go into the bigger jumps, and it's really cool.
The half pipe is really impressive, but for me, the half pipe, it's basically like watching gymnasts on a snowboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of twists. Nothing again. I'm not trying to diminish it, but what I'm saying is that I don't know. Like it's basically it's like who's going to do the most spins in the air.
That is how scoring is calculated. So yeah, more spins equals higher score.
Well, not necessarily. It's not just spins because it's a subjective scoring system. There's no real parameters for it. It is up to the judges determining. It's not like Tony Hawk where like you do a trick and it's worth but so many points. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, wow, absolutely.
He did a nollie McTwist. That's 1440 points.
Yeah, landing, how high they get. There's a lot of factors, and you're right. It's all subjective.
It's all about the optics, baby. All about the optics.
And there were several athletes that should have garnered them a higher score for the tricks that they pulled off and the height that they got. And there was one athlete, I can't remember her name, but she was 33 or 34. And, she finished with like an 83 or 84. She really should have been higher and possibly broke a 90. And I thought she really got held back. The same thing with figure skating, that Adam Rippon, when he did the team skate, I thought he got held back by his score when he pulled off a fantastic skate. But the Russian beat him out.
Yeah. And I will say, I kind of predicted this last time. But Lindsey Vonn has yet to win a medal in 2018. She has not medaled at all.
You did. But she finished, sixth in her first event? Did not do very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the event that was supposed to be her thing, man. So
she's kind of past her prime, I think. It's sad because I wanted to see her do something, but looks like it's not going to happen.
That's okay. So, her ex-boyfriend Tiger Woods didn't make the cut this weekend either.
All right. I'm sure you're tired of talking about Olympics, so we'll move on.
Well, I mean, what else is talking? I mean, do you even know who won the mixed doubles curling?
No, I don't watch curling.
Like, curling to me sounds like a really fun thing to drink a couple beers, get really drunk, and throw stones across ice. I'm down for that. Like, I'd totally play it. But as an Olympic sport, it's just one of those things. It's like, wow, you're the best in the world at this. You're the best at doing what the Scotch did when they were drunk in the middle of winter.
Shaving ice.
Yeah, basically. So we got just a couple more things. I'm going to try and keep this pretty short, but I did want to touch on going back to the Super Bowl, how many fourth down attempts there were. There were 2 attempts by both teams. And the Eagles were perfect on their fourth down conversions. They were 2 for 2 on fourth down conversion. The Pats were only 1 for 2. But their third down efficiency is really where the Eagles shined as well. They were 10 for 16, whereas the Pats were only 5 for 10. Which is just, that right there, if you're going to look at anything that really makes a difference in a game, that's a big one. New England might have had more yards, but Philly was better on their conversion. But what I want to talk about is it takes some real chutzpah to go for it on fourth down, particularly on such a big stage, and really gutsy plays. One was just 2 yards that they needed to complete, but the Nick Foles touchdown was a fourth down conversion.
Yeah, the Philly special. That was
man.
That was definitely something special to watch, and very risky play, but they pulled that one out of the hat, that rabbit.
But the reason I wanted to touch on it is a trend that has been in the college game for the last couple of years, and we're seeing more and more of it, and now it's just now starting to trickle into the NFL. You know, things always kind of get tested out in college, kind of like the Wildcat, which we see everywhere now. And just like you see guys who are figuring out how to go against it, you know, to fix it. But if you look at the stats, Alabama was the number one fourth down converting team in the country last year. They tried to do it 18 times, and they converted 15 of those 18 times.
I think, you know, when it's used, it has to be smart, right? And I think I've seen a lot of teams in the NFL do it this year when they were kind of in no man's land, talking about like the 55 to 60 yard field goal out, you know, so just over the 50 to 45 yard mark. You're kind of in no man's land. Do you want to punt it and give the ball back to them, or do you want to keep some momentum going? You know, you get the 4th and short, and go back to your boy Cam Newton. If you got 4th and short and you got Cam Newton, you give him the ball and you let him run it straight up the middle, you know, or you try to get him on the ball fake. I've seen the Panthers do that many a times. Give him the good old play action, let Greg Olsen run up the middle and throw him the ball.
Yeah. But I mean, like Navy last year attempted converting 4th down 35 times. 35 times. Syracuse did it 38 times. Northwestern did it 39 times, and they converted over 2/3 of them. I mean, that's no small thing. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I know that there's nerds crunching numbers right now about at what point is it no return? Is it more beneficial to just go for it on 4th rather than punt it? The other thing is, too, you've got kickers now who can murder 55-yard field goals. I mean, they just right down the pike with room to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a coach, you really have some flexibility. You've barely got to get out to the 50-yard line if you've got a kicker who can really boot it. And even then at the 50-yard line, you have a question of like, you know, I guess at 50, that's when you punt. But like if you're past 40, you're practically in the red zone. It's kind of more beneficial to just go for it. It's no different than a kickoff.
Yeah, I think, you know, these guys practice it all week long, and in these drills, you know, these scenario drills, and if they're in 4th and short, you know, 4th and under 5, I think that's when you pull your play card out, and you see what you've got, what Madden play you've got to get you 4 yards, 5 yards, whatever you need. You don't see many teams going on for it on 4th and 10 unless they're down. You know, it's usually 5 yards and under.
You see those in the fourth quarter a lot, and I think really to understand the 4th down conversion, you'd have to remove the fourth quarter stats to see a trend. You know what I mean? Because there's some teams who are desperate and are losing in the fourth quarter and go for it a lot in the fourth quarter because they have to, because it's necessary. Anyways, I just think it's really something to keep an eye on.
Oh, did you know, and you probably did because you have a lot of useless knowledge in your head, did you know that football used to be 3-down football?
I did know that.
Yeah, I did not. And so, what was it? The 4th down was created in like the 20s, I want to say it was, to give them up to 10 yards to make it 4 downs. It used to be 3 downs, and that's when they changed the field to 100 yards.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. We've reached your favorite part of the show, Randy.
Who you got?
I don't know, man. Who do I got? So what are we picking this week? What are we picking this week?
How about the pickup game the NBA All-Star game this year? They kind of gave them captains. So Team LeBron versus Team Stephen Curry. What do you think about some of these roster? I mean, I see one name that is missing, at least one standout name. Look at these. Why don't you call out some of the people that are on Team LeBron?
All right. Yeah, we got LaMarcus Aldridge, Bradley Beal, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. Let's see here. Kristaps Porzingis, John Wall, and Russell Westbrook. I mean, it's just stacked as all heck, man.
Yeah. Lots of smaller guards, a lot of fast-moving players, but you got KD and LaMarcus Aldridge in there too.
Take a look at Team Stephens, man. There's definitely a trend on who he picked.
Okay, he's got Draymond and he's got Clay, so there's two of his teammates.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. He's like, I'll just pick my team.
He's got some studs on that team too. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid,
James
Harden. Yeah,
do not short Black Jesus there, man.
Hey, Black Jesus. Even Damian Lillard. I mean, you've got two Toronto teammates on that team too. I think it's pretty close. But who you got?
I mean, Kyrie Irving described his team as the most stacked team he's ever seen, like an Olympic dream team. My money's on Team LeBron. I mean, if those guys actually perform, if they don't, throw it, like if KD doesn't not show up, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I'm on this thing. But it's my money's on Team LeBron. I think they're way overstacked on that side.
It would be hard. They are the 3.5 point favorites, and I can see why. I think Steph's team is probably going to struggle. I'll go with Team Steph. They've got some great players on that team. I think it comes down to chemistry if they can play well together. I mean, we obviously know nobody's going to play defense, so it's going to be who can make the most shots for the end of the game.
I will say there's a part of me as a fan, like I think it's really exciting to have, a serious competitor in KD and LeBron working together on the same squad. That's been a good rivalry for basketball. The Oklahoma City Thunder were kind of overtaken by the Golden State Warriors, but there was a lot of really good back and forth there. And then, of course, you got to remember that the Spurs came back for 2 years there, just like out of nowhere because they just won't die. They're zombies. They'll lure in some young talent to work with their old fogies, and the old fogies will give just a good enough performance, that's not fair. Like, it's a great performance, but it's just like they are a holdover from those 2000s teams, man. You know what I mean?
They are. They just won't die.
It's 2018.
Tony Parker will not die. I'm excited to see Russell Westbrook and LeBron. That to me is an awesome duo.
Russell Westbrook and KD back on the same team. That's right. More interesting story.
I love Russell Westbrook. I think he's one of my most favorite NBA players, maybe of all time, just because the kid goes. Yeah. He just has a motor that unlike I've ever seen before. The guy will not stop. I mean, he just goes 100% to the paint every time.
I agree with you, but I've got to say, Russell Westbrook looks like he'd make a great video game villain.
No neck Westbrook, final boss.
Yeah. He's swinging basketballs around on giant chains.
He's an awesome talent. I think it'll be a cool game to watch. We'll see.
What network is it going to be on tonight?
TNT Dynamite.
Oh, well, I guess that means I can't watch it because I'm a cord cutter. I'll have to illegally stream it somewhere. Oh, man. Well, you have wasted another wonderful or not so wonderful episode of the R&R Sports Podcast. Remember to follow us. We do occasionally tweet on Twitter at CriscoCast. You can also find us on our Facebook page at Chrisco Industries. If you are listening to us through the podcast, you can find us on youtube.com/Crisco Brand Biscuits. And if you are watching us, you can always find us in the Google Play and iTunes podcast stores, respectively. Last but most importantly, I would say, if you like what you hear and you want to support the show, you want to have access to more content and help us grow the channel, please consider contributing and supporting us at patreon.com/Crisco Industries.
Good to hear that I wasted another hour of your week, Robert. That gives me great joy.
No, not my week, the listener's week.
Yes, sorry to waste your time.
This is a pleasure. Yes, no, absolutely. It's an investment on their part. So, is there anything that you would like to add? Any nuggets of wisdom?
I like nuggets.
All right, y'all. So, for Randy the Man Watkins, I am Robert Joins. You have tuned into the R&R Sports Podcast, and we will see y'all next week.